On today's show, how the Denver Nuggets reclaimed home court with their Game 4 road win against the Minnesota Timberwolves, the insane momentum-building sequence to end the first half, the two-man game between Nikola Jokic and Aaron Gordon getting back on track, as well as Denver winning the non-Jokic minutes, and so much more on today's Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and so much more. And all you have to do is wager $5. Right now you can head over to FanDuel.com and take a look at the outright betting favorites for the title this NBA season. The Boston Celtics minus 140 to win it all. The Denver Nuggets plus 370 behind them, and then the Minnesota Timberwolves distant third place favorites at plus 800. So for all those odds and so much more, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Joining us now is the host of Locked On Nuggets and Locked On NBA, Matt Moore. You can track down wherever you listen to your podcasts and on YouTube. Just search Locked On Nuggets and Locked On NBA, of course. And Matt, reports of the Nuggets' demise were probably a bit exaggerated after the 0-2 start to this series. Now evening things up here, 2 games apiece after their 115-107 Game 4 win. And Matt, they won this game by 8 points. The exact number of points that they scored in that absolutely insane 20 seconds before halftime, which has to go down, I think, is one of the craziest all-time NBA playoff sequences that we've ever witnessed.
If the Wolves lose this series, that's going to be yet another. That's going to be like Wide Right and all of these other famous stories in the history of Wolves pain. And I'm very empathetic to them after this one, because that is rough. But look, I think when you look at it, there's so many ways to kind of approach this. Yes, Jamal Murray's buzzer beater and this wild sequence at the end. Nikola Jokic had a buzzer beater at the end of the first quarter. Jackson, they scored 5 points in an 8-point game with 0 seconds on the clock. 5 points in an 8-point win with 0 seconds on the clock, in the quarter clock. They got so many great contributions in this game. The champs really showed up to play. Nikola Jokic was masterful. This was his best game of the playoffs by far. He dominated from start to finish. Jamal Murray was great passing in the first half and then shifted into a scoring role when the Wolves tried to adjust in the second half, the opposite of what happened in Game 3. And then there's Aaron Gordon, 27 points, dominant defense, and really leading the team in the minutes without Jokic, where the bench for the Wolves just got obliterated. The Wolves are never going to win this series if they keep losing the non-Nikola Jokic minutes. And that was really a huge part of this one, is Aaron Gordon's hitting threes, and you just got to put your hands up and tip your cap if you're the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's just a rough outcome for you. But ultimately, the Nuggets got enough contributions, and now we're all even in this series, headed back to Denver for now a 3-game series.
Look, I mean, first off, Jokic was a +3 in this game. Not a and so then you take away the heave, take away the Murray heave, whatever you want to do, ±0. If you can play Jokic to dead even or a number that's not massively in his favor, then yeah, usually you're like, okay, we feel good about winning this game. But you're right, the Wolves completely and utterly lost the non-Jokic minutes in this game, and it was a byproduct of the fact that Naz Reid really struggled, and the Nuggets were completely going after him. And then on top of that, you had Kyle Anderson, who gave Tony Snell a run for his money with the all zeros stat line, and was a ridiculously impressive -18 in just 6 minutes played. Nickeil Alexander-Walker was also not great in this game, so it felt like a lot of pieces had to go wrong for the Wolves in this one. But did it feel like to you? And I'm going to go back to oh my God, you're gonna have to help me here. The Russell Westbrook quote. Did you guys win this game or did they lose this game? But did it feel like the Nuggets actually won the non-Jokic minutes, or did it just feel like the Wolves were just catastrophically bad in the non-Jokic minutes?
No, I think they won it because you got Justin Holiday stepping up. That's a veteran that they brought on. And it was really crazy because when they signed him, I was like, oh, that's a really good get. Justin Holiday's a really good vet, like every single Holiday brother is. And I had Dallas and Hawks fans being like, you're ridiculous. He's awful. He's complete trash. No, like Justin talked about when he got to Denver about how much he wanted to play for a real basketball team. And then like talked about that in season when he was succeeding. He's a veteran that they trust, and he's making open threes. You can get that. Reggie Jackson hitting step backs. Okay, yeah, maybe some things went their way in that regard, but also a lot of this really does have to do with Aaron Gordon and him pushing the pace. And the Wolves have a general game plan of things like, hey, we want to make our pickups of on-ball pressure high in the court. And they tried that with Aaron Gordon when he was handling the ball, and they did that specifically so that the Wolves couldn't get Jamal Murray down in the clock. Jamal Murray's off ball, AG bringing up the floor. Well, you got Karl-Anthony Towns or Naz Reid on him, so AG's just getting downhill. And now you've got 5-on-4, and that really caused them a lot of issues. There's tactical stuff I think Chris Finch will clean up. They should get a better performance from Nickeil Alexander-Walker. If he's going to miss all these corner threes, again, that's like the opposite of the Aaron Gordon threes, where it's like, look, if Nickeil Alexander-Walker misses wide open corner threes, it's just not your year. But they're going to need to get those. They are still in this series. They've proven they can win in Denver. Should be a great series. I think this is going to be a fantastic finish because I think these two teams are exceptionally even.
I think we are barreling towards what is, I think it, not that it could end today, obviously, but like just, I think we're headed for a game 7 series where it's going to be, when we look back on it and reflect on the series, we're going to think it's an all-time playoff series with what maybe feels like one of these two teams going on to be the eventual champions, just based on how some of the other series have looked around the NBA landscape. But you also look at the way this game played out. Anthony Edwards was magnificent yet again in this game, dropped 44 points, absolutely tried to will the Timberwolves back into this game, trying to keep them afloat throughout stretches of this one. What would you like to see the Nuggets try to do differently to slow him down? Or is this just something where you look at Ant and you're just like, you got to live with what he's going to put up?
Yeah, no, they got to live with it. And a lot of this, honestly, is after game 1, when he had that magnificent performance, Michael Malone's entire tenor in the post-game press conference was like, look, he's a great player, had a great game, but we can't let Naz Reid and Mike Conley kill us the way that they did. And you've seen that kind of flip. This is the NBA playoffs. This is the second round between 2 of the 3 best teams in the Western Conference, separated by a game. And these two teams are exceptionally even, and they've got great players at the top. The Wolves are going to have to live with Nikola Jokic hitting tough floaters over great contests from Rudy Gobert. The Nuggets are going to have to live with the fact that they do not have a matchup for Anthony Edwards. Now, they've tried Christian Brown on him, and that's done a little bit better. Justin Holiday's had a little bit of success in general, but look, he was 16 of 25 tonight. He is an unstoppable force, and he did have 5 assists, but honestly, that to me, if you go back and watch, that's a big separator here, is that the Nuggets had so many assists, especially from their big 3, and Ant was having to kind of force the issue a little bit, and that wears him down just a little bit. Ant's got to work on making things a little bit easier to get his teammates involved, especially so that they can survive the minutes when he's not on the floor.
Yeah, it feels like when you look at the T-Wolves, Karl-Anthony Towns' disaster class performance in this one did not help things at all. 13 points, 5 of 18 shooting. He has to be the guy leading the non-Ant minutes for the Wolves.
I want to kind of note this, that it is possible for us to hold star players accountable and say he did not have a good game and say that he was bad, and not attribute this one particular game to the history of him. He missed shots tonight. Like, he missed pretty good looks tonight. He had one sequence where he was going across the lane and had the ball stripped from him on a post up versus Gordon. He's got to win those matchups. The Wolves need to do things like force off-ball switches to get him on smalls, which is how he dominated the Phoenix Suns instead of him going against Aaron Gordon. I'll also note this. This is Mother's Day, and Towns lost his mom. And so, like, it's possible for us to have, like, kindness and empathy and still hold star players accountable and be like, yeah, Towns is going to have to be better, but also, like, understand what he was going through in this game. That balance is difficult, but it's something that we need to really stress and understand. Like, look, Cat didn't get out of control. He didn't foul out of this game. He wasn't making stupid mistakes. He just missed shots. And that's gonna, and he commented that it really sucks for that to happen on Mother's Day for him. So we can have empathy for that and still say if the Wolves want to win the series, he's going to have to be better.
What adjustments will we see from these teams headed into the pivotal Game 5 as the series shifts back to Denver? You're going to have us covered for all of that and so much more over at Locked On Nuggets. Matt, thanks for stopping by Locked On NBA with me.
Thanks, Jackson.